Vikings. Not really known for their Christian worldview and godly demeanor, seeking to live in peace with all mankind and live a quiet and peaceable life. No, they're known, stereotypically, I understand, and therefore most likely incorrectly, as raiders, murderers, rapists, and drunks. So yeah, not really role models for us to emulate, to be sure, but should we even be playing a game about them and their exploits? We'll get to that in just a bit, but first, let's look at the gameplay and see what it has to offer. Land of the Vikings is a colony-building sim set in the land of... well, never mind that bit, but it will initially feel very familiar to colony-building sim enjoyers. You start with a simple town hall and a few homes and Vikings. Then you need to start chopping down trees and mining out rock and building up the seed of your eventual vast empire. Build a lumber mill and a stone cutter to process all those raw materials into better materials. Build a hunter or gatherer's hut to forage food, and an herbalist to take care of your ailing villagers, and a market and warehouse to store and distribute all your resources. But don't stop there. Once you have enough basic production and industry to populate, you can expand and plant farms and raise cattle, send out fishing ships that you made yourself, and mine for coal and iron to craft armor and tools to protect yourself and work faster. Build a navy of trade ships, or choose to use those ships to plunder and take what you want. All along the way, you'll be gathering silver as a resource, fame as an XP source, and eventually you'll earn levels in the world tree, which is the tech tree, for risk of hitting the nail too firmly on the head. The advances that you make in the colony will allow you to unlock further buildings or upgraded versions of older buildings. You can also choose these smaller upgrades that provide minimal but passive upgrades to your people as a whole. 2% faster walking speed on roads? It doesn't seem like much, but when your colony burgeons to the size of a town or small city, that will be a lot of time saved. All along the way, you'll be stopped occasionally by events and need to make a choice. 2 of your Vikings have been feuding and you need to settle it. Someone's stolen a sacred knife and you need to find it. Your builders found a gravesite filled with silver while building. Will you risk the wrath of the gods to gather the silver or halt construction altogether? The storm damaged a number of homes. Will you pay to fix them or make the people fix their own homes? Or maybe even make a sacrifice to Thor to appease the people, who will feel better as they fix their own homes. And some of these events, and even some advancements on the tech tree, will unlock new events that will help you tell the story of your rising civilization. All this sounds well and good, but the question that we always ask around here is, should a Christian play Land of the Vikings? And a reminder to those of you who are new to the channel that we firmly believe in the priesthood of the believer. So it's up to you to decide if you'll play the game or not. I'm going to tell you what I think and what I found, but it's between you and God whether you play it or not. So nobody at the backlog is going to judge you one way or the other. Now, let's start with the behorned elephant in the room. Stewardship. This game is an early access game, so let's all appreciate that as time goes by, these facts will hopefully change. And if they change enough that I change my opinion, then we'll return and re-review the game. But as it is right now, it's a bit crude and doesn't really add anything to the genre. The graphics are fine when close up and slowed, but while playing I never got close up during gameplay, and I almost always kept the game at 4 times speed. And from that far away and at that fast, things are a bit pixelated and blotchy. And the Vikings might as well have been beavers from Timberborn. And even with all that said, the screen was still glitchy as moving around and jumpy, even with VSync turned on and the settings turned all the way up. But also, the game balance is way off for this type of game. Silver, right now, is very easy to come by, and it is the magic fix for everything in the game. Need more food? Trade for it. Reached a story and now bad things will happen? Just throw money at the problem. You found a grave filled with silver, and if you take it, the wrath of gods will come upon you? That's okay, we don't need silver anyway, just bury him. And even if you do take the silver from the grave, it'll be enough to pay for the wrath damages. Even more, the timber production is very important for both building and keeping houses warm in the winter, but the trees grow back so fast. It was never really a problem. and it kind of felt like a tedious task to occasionally tell my horde of unemployed workers to mow the forest down every season or so. And watching them grow to full trees in real time, well, that's just weird. It might work better if there were more trees and smaller, like in End Zone or Surviving the Apocalypse. But right now, as it is, it's just a bit weird. Also, the road building mechanic is just janky. Why can I only build a short portion of road each time? Why can't I lay out my city in one fell swoop? And why doesn't that house want to connect? And almost last in the list of jank is the translation of the story bits. It's not great. And the story bits could be a great addition, even if not a novel addition to the genre. Truth is, reading the flavor text is sometimes so confusing, and after a few hours it's also very repetitive, that I just gave up and chose to use my abundant silver to fix whatever was wrong and wish the story bits away. But the worst part is that the balance of the game is so far off that I was never even challenged at any point. There was not the struggle to balance work and resources with happiness or fervor. There weren't politics that needed my attention, like in Dice Legacy. The villagers didn't demand specific goods or buildings to be built. There wasn't even the ability, because many of the quality of life features, like automatic reassignment of new workers when the old ones died, they happened to be locked behind research branches. There wasn't even the ability to leave the colony to coast, like in Timberborn. It was just a tedious pushing of the colony to continue. Like I had to keep holding down the go button, but never had to do any actual thinking. So do be prepared if you're planning to buy it. It is in a bit of a state. Early release state. But if you're looking for a more polished early access colony sim, just buy Timberborn, or Banished, or Surviving Mars, or any of the other good hundreds of other colony sims. This one doesn't seem like a wise use of your money to me. Yeah, so Vikings have their own mythology, and it is represented in the game mildly. All throughout the game, the player is warned that they might incur the wrath of the gods, or they might earn one of the gods' favor. And though that did happen, it's almost pointless and really doesn't add much to the game. The occasional thunderstorms or blizzards that came about did happen to slow me down from my 4 times speed progression through the world, which was annoying, and they broke a few buildings, but that was quickly put to rights, and away we went. The one time that I did get blessed happened when I couldn't even store the wheat because I just had a harvest, so it also had little effect on the game. Eventually you can research totems that will boost certain aspects of an area of the town, but other than those 2 things, the gods of the Vikings are mostly real-world accurate, in that they are nothing, as Paul puts it. And finally, there is beer in the game, and it's almost completely skippable, with the exception that they will not sail without it. You cannot get a Viking to get into a boat that isn't a fishing boat without giving them some beer along the way. They won't sail to raid and murder. They won't even sail to trade peacefully. You also can't throw a festival without it, but I never had trouble keeping my Vikings plenty happy without it, so make of that what you will. Overall, I really can't recommend it in its current state. It's not really ready to be played realistically, and I'm only reviewing it now because I told them that I would. It looks promising, but it's not there yet. My recommendation is to go buy Banished, or Timberborn, or End Zone, or Surviving Mars, or any of a dozen other games with different themes, or very similar themes, and give this one a pass until it decides what it wants to be when it grows up. But that's just my thoughts on whether a Christian ought to play it. The rest, I leave to you. But if there's a game you'd like me to review, let me know in the comments below. Otherwise, I'll see you in the next game.